Hi guys, welcome to Body Successful. I'm Dr. K. This is a really exciting topic today. We're going to be talking about how pot affects your weight loss goals. It's a really popular topic on the internet since it's being legalized everywhere. More patients and clients are admitting to me that they are using marijuana on a regular basis, so I thought it would just be appropriate to address this. Full disclosure though, I'm really not here to advocate the use of pot for weight loss. I'm not here to be for or against it. In today's video, the purpose really is to just lay out the science and to see whether we can really substantiate the claims about marijuana being a weight loss tool. So let's get started. We know that cannabis users tend to overeat. They get the famous munchies after use. But science shows that they can actually, chronic marijuana users actually lose weight over a period of time. These studies rather also show that people who only use it recreationally, like once in a while, they do not reap the effects of weight loss when it comes to marijuana. Interestingly enough, patients who have AIDS or HIV or cancer did not see these results. When they became chronic users, actually saw the opposite results, so they actually gained weight. So this kind of leads us down to a path to think that pot is not really a weight loss tool, but rather we should think of it as a weight modulator. A long-scale study that started in 2005, and they monitored almost 5,000 people who were using marijuana chronically 3 to 5 times a week, and they were using it in different forms, in edibles and vapor and smoke and all that, and completely different strains as well. And they monitored them over a 5-year period of time, and this is what they found. They all, across the board, had decreased prevalence of obesity, decreased insulin resistance, fasting insulin levels were much lower. Their waist circumference, on average, was 1.5 inches smaller than before. Their good cholesterol was higher, their LDLs, and overall there was an improvement in their metabolic function as well as regulation of insulin and sugar uptake. So this sounded so very good that people decided to do more research on this because there's quite a big paradox if you think about it in this, that you're overeating yet you're losing weight. Only to find out that actually this wonderful plant has the upper hand on us because we have still very poor understanding of the mechanism how this plant affects our body and how different strands really can have an effect on our body. So this is really frustrating because this plant is a lot more complex than we would have liked to think. See, pot is made up of so many different strands that have so many different chemicals in them. In fact, we identified 500 different chemicals in the marijuana plant, which are called cannabinoids. Out of the 500 different chemicals, 3 cannabinoids were studied extensively so far. The first one is THC, the other one is THCV, and the third one is CBD. THC is single-handedly responsible for the psychoactive effects of marijuana as well as the munchies. And THC stimulates the part of the brain that is responsible for pleasure, like food and sex. And it releases a chemical called dopamine, and that in turn will get you high. So a lot of people think that because of THC's property of getting you high and also giving you the munchies, if you are from a weight loss perspective, you should stay away from this strands rather than have high levels of THC in them, because of course it's going to be countereffective if you're going to be eating too much. However, studies have shown that THC has its own weight loss benefits. When they studied mice studies, they've shown that when they fed them, like obese mice, they fed them high-fat diets in conjunction with marijuana compared to obese mice that were fed only a high-fat diet. The ones that were using pot actually lost weight, decreased their fat percentage, over time decreased their food intake as well. And interestingly enough, THC was able to change the gut microorganisms in the obese mice to make it look more like the gut microorganisms of lean mice. So this is very interesting in terms of study. However, what they found that was also frustrating is that in lean mice, when they administered the same diet, so high-fat diet, and in conjunction with a weed, they did not see weight loss results. So this leads us to understand that we can't really abuse this plant. So if you're a lean mouse and you're eating a high-fat diet in conjunction with pot and you're not gaining or losing weight, like in the same study with obese mice, this leads us to believe that marijuana is actually a regulator of weight more than a weight loss tool. And it's a good thing because now we know that we can't abuse it. You can't keep using pot and waste away. You cannot be using unhealthy amounts of weight on it. So people who have eating disorders and they try to get on pot to try to lose unhealthy amount of weight, it's not going to work for you. A Canadian study in 2015 treated lab mice with THC over a 4-week period of time. And the mice that were given frequent doses of THC lost weight, decreased their fat accumulation, and decreased food intake. As in the previous study though, they showed also that lean mice did not experience any weight loss. As in the previous study also, THC caused changes in the gut microorganisms, which we know that there are significant contributing factors in the promotion and maintenance of healthy weight. Now our next famous cannabinoid chemical inside the marijuana plant is CBD. Now CBD doesn't have any psychoactive effects. However, it is really, really popular in the athletic world because it has properties such as increasing your pain threshold, anti-inflammatory properties. It increases blood circulation during exercise. If you're under the influence, it increases oxygenation via bronchodilation. It decreases muscle spasms and overall stress on the body. So if you think about it, this is an ideal scenario for an athlete because during exercise, you could be pushing super hard without fatiguing so much. So you're burning way more calories during the exercise, as well as you increase your post-exercise oxygen expenditure, which means that you're going to be burning even more calories after the exercise is finished, well into the 36-hour window. So you're burning a lot more calories, but then you're also recovering much, much quicker because of its anti-inflammatory effects as well as muscle relaxing effects. So this is really an ideal situation for an athlete if you think about it. A 2016 study by Porey and Yan looked at the effects of CBD on fat cells for the purposes of treatment of obesity. And what they found is the following. CBD stimulated genes that increase the role of fat oxidation, increase the activity of mitochondria, improving the body's capability to burn calories, and also decreased lipogenesis. Now, this was really an eye-opener because further what they found was that CBD caused fat browning, and that is the phenomenon where it converts white fat into brown fat. So white fat that's increased fat stores, versus brown fat is much deeper fat because white fat is directly under our skin and brown fat helps us burn more energy. So CBD in essence boosts metabolism, increasing the fat burning rate of the body. So this is something new that we haven't seen in THC. We see it under the influence of CBD, and it's a completely new phenomenon that we were not expecting for it to happen. So it's a lot, again, this just shows that this plant is so much more complex and so much more intelligent than we'd like it to believe. Now, the third cannabinoid that was studied so far is THCV. And THCV gained its popularity because of its appetite suppressant property. So I can imagine this being something that is useful for somebody who is obese because of overeating. There's some psychological aspect attached to the eating habits of the individual. They have a hard time with their satiety center for whatever reason. They cannot say no when they're full. So this strand of weed that is high in THCV could help the individual curb their appetite, and also with their satiety being able to say enough, I'm going to stop eating when they're full. But regardless of all this anecdotal information that we have out there, we still have such poor understanding of the mechanism of how this is all put together. So we do not understand how marijuana alters the relationship between appetite and caloric intake and also insulin response. And because of this, definitely we know that there's way more studies that need to be done before we start recommending pot for athletic use. As for right now, it is banned altogether because it's a controlled substance. But nevertheless, there are tons and tons, of athletes that are advocating the use of marijuana during training because they claim that it helps them train harder and it helps them with recovering much faster. How about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, Danny Procopos? He said that cannabis is the ultimate tool for health and relaxation, and it helps him control ADHD. He uses marijuana to train every day to be able to push harder, longer, and recover faster. Now, how about the MMA fighter Nick Diaz, as well as the Canadian gold medalist snowboarder Ross Robagliati? They both claim, and so many others, the same physical benefits of training under the influence of marijuana. But again, it is still controversial, you guys, because when they did a controlled human study and they subjected people to a spin class under the influence of marijuana, this is not the positive results they saw. People tended to fatigue out much quicker. They had heart palpitations. Their blood pressure was undesirably high. So definitely not the positive results that we've seen with the competitive athletes. To be fair though, this is just proving to us that this plant is so much more complex than we would like to believe, and there's so much more to it than meets the eye. If you think about it, there are so many different strands that have so many different percentages of these cannabinoids in them, and they affect both the brain and the body completely differently. The dosage should be important. In which way you are ingesting marijuana should be also important. For example, these athletes claim that in order to hit that sweet spot, which basically is the ideal dosage and way by which they ingest marijuana, it should be 2 to 3 milligrams in an edible form for them to reap the maximum effects from an athletic standpoint. So, it is not a fair comparison, obviously, between the study and the athletes, because there's so many variables to think about. There's so many different strands. There's so many different ways you can ingest it. And then there's, of course, the dosage issue that is also very important. So as for right now, what do we really know as far as weight loss? It's undeniable that marijuana does have weight loss benefits for chronic users, for users who use at least 3 to 5 times per week, and the longer you use it, the more benefits you're gonna have. Marijuana does not work for weight loss for people who use it recreationally, like occasionally, once in a blue moon on a weekend. It will not work for you. Marijuana will not work for individuals who have a normal body weight, normal body composition. If you're already lean and you're using marijuana, you're not going to waste away by using it on a regular basis. We also know that marijuana is a very complex plant. It has so many different strands. Like we said, they identified 500 different chemicals, out of which we studied only 3 of them pretty well. And we also know that now these strands, depending on what you're going to be ingesting and in what form, they are going to have completely different results on your body and on your brain. As a result, we have to understand that more and more studies need to be done, especially human studies, for us to be able to identify the mechanism by which this plant is affecting us. Not only that, but by which we can actually manipulate this plant for our own gains to have to reap the most effect with the least amount of side effects, right? Because right now, as it stands, we don't have enough knowledge to give people the green light to go get high and go to the gym and, for example, work out or use it for weight loss, because simply we do not have enough knowledge regarding the mechanism. We know it is true, but we just don't know yet how to manipulate this plant for our optimal use. So as a result, you guys, for the time being, do not trade in your sneakers and your gym memberships yet for this plant, because more studies needs to be done in order to make this not just effective, because we know it's effective, but effective in the most optimal level and also safe without any side effects. So for the time being, you guys, it looks like, even though the anecdotal proof is there, but the scientific manipulative methods by which we can utilize this in a safe way is not quite there yet. So it looks like the grass is not so green on the other side just yet in terms of weight loss, yet. I hope you liked the content of the video. If you liked it, please share it with somebody else and shoot me a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future content on my channel. So I hope to see you next time. This is Dr. K, all the way, signing out.